Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good day, my Kardec Radio Spiritist friends. We come to you once again with a reading from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, written by the Spirit Emmanuel through the mediumship of Francisco Quintito Javier. Today's chapter reading is number 74, Clean Hands. The New Testament reading is from Acts, chapter 19, verse 11. And God did extraordinary wonders using Paul's hands. The gospel does not say that Paul of Tarsus did wonders, but that God performed extraordinary wonders by using Paul's hands. The Father always works like that, utilizing all his children who can show him that they have clean hands. Many people, more conventional than actually religious, have found this passage from Acts to be a bit of information about certain privileges that might have been given to the apostle. Before anything else, however, it is necessary to understand that such a concession is not exclusive. Most believers would rather see Paul as a saint rather than valuing him as a hard worker. But what did the apostle's clean hands cost him? Very few ask themselves this question. Let us remember that the friend of the Gentiles had been a famous rabbi in Jerusalem, and that he had been active in high positions of power in the public sector. Nevertheless, so that the Almighty could use his hands, he endured all kinds of humiliations and faced every sacrifice for the good of others. He taught the gospel amid insults, whippings, afflictions, and stoning. Although he wrote enlightened epistles, he never abandoned the humble loom until his body was too old. Consider the particularities of this issue, and you will see that God is still the same Father and that divine mercy has not changed. He still asks for clean hands for edifying service to humankind. Such a demand is logical and necessary so that the work of the Almighty may shine on human pathways. When we read this title, Clean Hands, especially at this time of the virus, the COVID-19 virus, one of the things we envision is us running to the bathroom if we've been outside and had to interact with people, or we received a delivery of some type, or we went out to go shopping for food, some necessities that we all have to get. We come home, or before we get in and take our mask off, we sanitize our hands with the hand sanitizer, take our mask off, and then proceed to come home. And this is the thing that struck us first when I saw this, read this particular thing. But even though Emmanuel makes no reference to dirty hands, what he wants us to understand is that our hands may carry the stains of pride and selfishness. And one hand might have the calluses from pride, and the other hand might have the roughness from selfishness. And therefore, God has to hold back from using us. And we have to somehow smooth out or remove those calluses, and also smooth out the roughness of selfishness. We've got to diminish these things in our life. And then then have opened the pathway for God to use us. As Emmanuel reminds us, this is not an exclusive gift that was given to Paul to become an instrument. We all can be instruments in God's hands, as long as and how do we do this? We humble ourselves. We have to accept the humiliations and the abuse that too often is associated with the spreading and the practicing of the good news. This brings to mind sacrifice. And as Emmanuel writes, Paul spread the gospel message in spite of people's insults, of beatings, afflictions, and of course, stonings. This is true sacrifice. Paul was a very elevated example of sacrifice for the good of all. Paul loved Jesus, loved God, and always knew that the situation that he was put into, he needed to talk about the good news, but also at the same time demonstrate in a non-judgmental way of how to help people stay the course of loving God, first of all, and also their neighbors, which is very important also. God first, our neighbors second. We have that love for both God and for our neighbors, because all of our neighbors carry that God element within them. How did Paul do this? He did this through preaching primarily, but he also did a lot of writings. And he also traveled from town to town, sometimes taking the boats to get there. And what would he do? He would administer to the sick, he would heal them. And then he would encourage and help people his followers within those towns to build a community that would follow Christ's example of always maintaining the constant lookout for the good. And Christ reminded us that each difficulty or challenge that we face in life is given to us to remedy a past transgression, or to teach or reveal to us a lesson we need to grow. We need to grow in a morally intelligent way. Now, my friends, let us begin to apply the lotion of humility to remove those calluses of pride. And also let us use the cream of generosity and selflessness to smooth away the roughness of selfishness. Let us continue to pray, my spiritist friends, in this time of great need. Pride and selfishness needs to be diminished within ourselves, within our families, and within all we come in contact with. Until our next meeting, take care.